What's good, you guys? Today we're talking about a remix to a classic model from New Balance that has been around a long time. Now, the original version of this sneaker has amassed diehard fans all over, and the somewhat recent release of this enhanced version I'm sure has intrigued those people as well as people who have never even tried either version of the shoe. Now, there are some pros to it, but there are also some big negatives. So I'm here to tell you exactly what those pros and cons are. So let's get into it, because today we're talking about the New Balance 991 V2 Grape Sorbet in the green colorway. Starting off with the toe box, you get it in the super hairy suede, and it comes in this like Grinch green or like an Oscar the Grouch kind of color. These overlay panels here in gray, that light silver color, those actually aren't 3M, but the hit at the base of the laces is, and then you get that really dark forest green mesh. On the lateral side, that hairy green suede just dominates the upper, and in the center you have that completely 3M'd out New Balance logo, and then towards the heel collar you get two little touches of that dark green mesh. Moving towards the heel, you get the 991 embroidered hit there on the 3M panel, and then moving to the very back of the heel you see the embroidered V2 branding, and above that you get another hit of 3M. In the center of the heel you see that New Balance branding, and that's in like a dark army green, and at the bottom you see the Absorb SBS pods in orange that go throughout the shoe. The medial side basically mimics the lateral. You have all those Grinch green hits with the suede, and then you have that dark forest mesh and those little silver hits towards the toe box. On the lacing system, the tongue comes in that dark forest green, and at the center you get this giant patch with the embroidered New Balance Made in England 991 logo with the V2 hit just below that. And this version comes with two sets of laces. You have one in a lighter green to match the overall colorway, and then another in a silver gray, both in that classic New Balance chunky style lace. The back of the tongue, sock liner, and insole all come pretty predictably in just that classic gray, and you get the New Balance running logo on the insole in black. The midsole has that classic segmented design starting in white at the forefoot, and then you have that orange Absorb pod there, and moving towards the heel portion it turns to more of a silver gray where you see more of those Absorb pods, and then that little plastic hit of that dark army green at the heel. The outsole comes in black, and then there's hits of that darker green towards the middle, and then you see the fuel cell line running through the center there in orange. At the back lateral side of the heel you get the Endurance logo, and then you'll notice this doesn't actually have a physical midfoot shank. This is all actually a rubberized panel that is the same material as the rest of the outsole. Okay, now that we've broken down the general shape, construction, and colorway of the shoe, the first thing I want to mention personally out of the gate is this suede. Now normally with New Balance they're known for having crazy hairy suede in different lengths and styles, and normally people can't get enough of it. But for me personally on this model, and maybe it's just because it's in that really bright green, but honestly for me it's just a little bit too rugged. Comparing it to my 993s in the gray colorway, they also have that hairy suede. Obviously this colorway downplays that effect a lot, but I don't know, something about it maybe is just a little too much in my opinion. But that in and of itself is definitely not one of my knocks against this shoe. It's just sort of a personal preference having them in hand. So now that that's all out of the way, we're going to talk about sizing, fit, and feel. And this is a disclaimer: if you are a diehard 991 or 991 V2 fan, this is about the time you should tune out, because the rest of this video is not for you. Now, the original 991 came out in 2001. And like I said, there's a lot of people that are diehards for it and they just think it's a great shoe. I am not one of those people. The original version, I've had like 3 different pairs, all at different conditions. I had the Stray Rats in that purple and green, those were DS. Then I had the Emilion Doors in gray, and that was like a VNDS. And I even had the silver metallics, and those were completely beat. And honestly, in all 3 of those shoes, no matter the condition or worn in state, they all fit horribly. This is an image of like what is inside of the shoe, and some of the videos I've watched when people describe the fit, all they really say is that it has an exaggerated decline from heel to toe, and looking at that might not even do it justice. But I mean, the forefoot of that is like razor thin, like there's nothing to it, and then that huge chunk of foam that is in the heel, that feels like this. Honestly, it feels like you have a 2x4 in there, and right at the edge of it is where you can feel your arch drop off. Like you can literally feel it as if it were a square piece inside the shoe. And I've had other people try these on just to verify that I'm not tripping and it's not just me. And within a second of putting their foot in there, they had the exact same reaction, like, what is this? It feels like I'm on a block of wood. So all 3 of those past experiences, no matter the condition, all had that same result. I've seen some people on the other side of the fence talking about, oh, you got to break these these in. I think I saw an article saying you have to walk like 80 kilometers or 80 miles in them to break them in. But as a sneakerhead, I'm sure a lot of you can relate because you have too many shoes to be wearing one shoe for 3 months that you just got because it's not comfortable, hoping that eventually it will be. Now, speaking to the V2 specifically, I bought this model even after those bad experiences because they were marketing this as the new and improved version with full-length fuel cell foam in the outsole, and this shoe came out in 2023. I did not know that. I thought the shoe had to be much older once I put it on foot because the tech upgrade was nothing special. I thought surely there had to be a drastic difference between the two with that big of a time gap, but in my opinion, it is not there. And this fuel cell line that goes through the outsole, if there is fuel cell foam in here, it feels like it's literally only on that line because I'm not really noticing any improvement in comfort. And the insole that comes standard with these is actually pretty meaty. Like, it does have some nice density to it, but even with that and the re-engineered tooling that they say that they did to the shoe, in my opinion, is still ass. Even on this model right here, if you take out the insole and look at the footbed, you can see this giant incline that starts at the heel, and there's like a rigid line to it, once again with that almost like a square feeling on foot of where that just descends from. And pushing down on that, whether you're doing it from the inside of the shoe or just on the midsole, this is like some really stiff foam. Like, I'm really having to put some muscle into that just to even indent it a little bit. And some people might want to nitpick and be like, oh, it's supposed to be that way. Yeah, it's a bit on the firmer side. Yeah, well, so are these right here. And this underfoot experience is 100 times better than these by a long shot. And you can clearly see from this image that yes, they have changed the interior foam construction of this version, but I really don't think any of that matters because on foot, you do not feel that difference. And don't get me wrong, I'm definitely not a New Balance hater. I have all different kinds of models of New Balance. They make up the majority of my collection. And this silhouette in and of itself is super dope and appealing visually, and I really like the colorway. That's one of the reasons why I decided to try these out. But in my opinion, that is where the pros stop. This is something I would call a better on the shelf. This is not something I need to own, and the price point of $250, that's a lot of money. And yes, there are some premium materials with the suedes and things like that, and yes, it is made in the UK, but at the end of the day, for $250, when you put this on your foot, I'm telling you right now, you are gonna be upset because this does not feel like that premium price point. And another thing for sizing is this toe box. This thing is going to squeeze your foot. I've read up articles, people saying, yes, that goes away and breaks in, okay, fine. But I'm just saying up front, that is going to be uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, if you just absolutely have to have one of these and you don't care about any of what I've just said, my recommendation for you to avoid problems would be go up a full size, and you are going to have to put the Move insole in here to make these any kind of comfortable, and that is going to make the shoe even heavier. And this is already a pretty weighty shoe, so doing that, you're going to be carrying around some extra weight, but that's literally the only way that I've been able to find to make these bearable to wear. And even walking around for about 30 minutes in my broken in, beat up version, they were still uncomfortable, and I literally couldn't wait to take them off. This is just one of those models that really surprised me, especially coming from a running shoe brand like New Balance, and how legacy the original version is, that this is still such an issue for the shoe that wasn't rectified or addressed. And I know there's gonna be people on the opposite end of the spectrum that think I'm tripping, and that's just fine. And I've even seen on some websites for running shoe ratings, they say, oh yeah, they're really comfortable, but they're on the firmer side. That's the understatement of the year. I feel like everybody is downplaying the hell out of this. And first of all, I've never had anyone come up to me and be like, yeah, I really love these shoes, they're so firm. What is that? No. Now for people who might be mad at that, I'm sorry, but on this channel, I gotta keep it a buck. And if it's ass, I'm saying it's ass. And that's how I feel about this shoe. At the end of the day, I would take a 993 over this, I would take a 992 over this, I would take a 1906R over this, 860 V2, 990 V4, V6. There's so many options that are better than this, and they're gonna be at a better price point. I feel like this is just one that you can forget about, live your life, move on, and you will not be missing out. Yes, they do make a lot of cool colorways in this, and yes, the original version has so many cool collabs, but I'm telling you right now, save yourself some money and some regret and move on to something else. And as you can see, these have not even been laced up. So some people might be hating, saying, oh, well, you haven't even worn them. How would you even know? It's because the second I put my foot in here to try these on, I was immediately reliving the nightmare that was the 3 other pairs of V1s that I had. Immediately, I felt that block-like foot feel in the heel with that giant drop-off. And this is not even advantageous for me to tell you, because I'm trying to sell these now. I'm sitting on an L, and I'm telling you straight up, save yourself the trouble and don't even bother. But for anybody watching this who's still curious and can't help but find out for themselves, go right ahead. But the only way I recommend this shoe is going to work properly for somebody is, number 1, you have to have narrow feet. Number 2, you have to really like a shoe being very snugly and tightly on you. And 3, you're going to have to really love a firm outsole, because that thing is terrible. But otherwise, I'm telling you right now, if you've been on the fence for the V1 or the V2, just stay away from this one, save some money, get something else. But that's going to wrap up my review on the New Balance 991 V2. And for any diehards out there who think I got it all wrong, leave it in the comments. I'd be happy to know what I'm missing here, but honestly, for me, these are a no-go. Thank you guys for watching, and remember, life's short, so buy the shoes, just not these.